Good evening. My name is Bruce Montgomery, and thank you for joining me on another edition of Technology Access Television. Well, a lot of you out there are fascinated with how to put computers to work in your school, in your business, in your nonprofit organization. And you know, times have changed from just looking at laptops. Now we have tablets, we have smartphones, and we have all kinds of platforms that are available for us to use effectively if we understand how to get our hands on help, because all of us need help when it's trying to figure out how to make this diverse set of tools work. And you know, one platform that's come back to the forefront of the computing revolution is, of course, the Macintosh platform, the Apple platform. Apple has expanded the universe so much with innovations that we now take for granted as more and more people come into the space of tablets and smartphones. We have to remember where it all started. But again, like I said, people need to be able to lay their hands on where they can go and get help making this kind of stuff work. And specifically, how can we get help making this fabulous platform of Apple products be working for us and our different organizations? And I'm delighted today to have a new resource that is available to us here in Chicago for teaching and learning and understanding how to put Apple to work. And that organization is MacMall. And my guest today is Craig Burns of MacMall here in Chicago. Craig, thank you for joining me.
Hi, Bruce. Thanks for having me.
Well, it is a fascination. You know, many of us are familiar with Apple products. We've used Apple products from back in the day, from the early Macintosh, or even the Apple II, III, or Lisa, or some crazy item like that. But you know, this company has come a marvelous long way, and many people are fascinated to go down and maybe experience the Apple Store and see all the kind of hullabaloo, but to have someplace else that people can go and actually get direct support is really a new concept. How long has MacMall come into this area of offering service and support and education here in the Chicago area?
Well, actually, MacMall only has a handful of stores. There's 3 in Los Angeles, and there's 1 here in Chicago. So the retail store presence is a fairly new part of MacMall, although the company's been around since 1987. It originally started as PC Mall. A lot of people have heard of that. It's been around for a long time and been one of Apple's biggest partners since the beginning.
Oh, really?
So there's actually no one sells more Apple products than MacMall does. Not even places like Amazon sells more than MacMall does. Now, having retail stores gives you a physical place where you can come, talk to an expert, find out what your needs are, and have options. Aside from just Apple stuff, there's also additional things. We have Windows products, we have products from Wacom, tablets, things like that. So we get a full solution when you come to MacMall. You also have access to a lot more accessories, things like that. But it's the education and the training and the business services and the technical services that MacMall offers that actually really sets it apart.
Now, that's what we really want to focus on today, because this show is really focused on education, really focused on helping people learn how to benefit from technology solutions. And so we have to talk to the providers of technology from time to time. And so your organization is really a unique organization in the fact that you recognize that even platforms that are as exotic and as delightful as the Apple still need other peripheral devices in order to be a complete solution. But most importantly, people need to interact with individuals that know how this stuff works. And that's where you guys come in. So talk a little bit about the configuration of your environment. How did you go about setting it up? How did you, because again, so many people are impressed and are aware of what Apple's doing. How did you decide to come into this market, do some of the same things they're doing, but do some different things as well?
Well, when MacMall first began having retail stores, they actually had a retail store in Santa Monica in California for about 15 years.
All right.
And it was really just the one store. And that took off, did very, very well, and the company decided to start expanding and opening other stores. They opened 2 additional ones in California and then decided the time was right to start spreading out and chose Chicago as the first store to open outside of California.
All right. And when did it first open in Chicago?
We just opened a little under a year ago. So we're really beginning to get attention in the market. It's located right near the Merchandise Mart on Grand Avenue, right near on the corner of Grand and Orleans. It's a great location, a lot of companies, a lot of businesses, a lot of individual small businesses that are nearby. It's a good neighborhood as well, and it's right access right off the highway too. So it's a great spot. Apple actually works with us pretty closely. We're not a competitor, and that's something a lot of people get confused by. We're not competing with Apple. Apple actually sends quite a few customers our way too. They like having us there, having us as an option. And one of the reasons that is because of that close relationship with Apple that MacMall's always had. We are one of Apple's biggest specialists. So if you are looking for an Apple product, you're going to get it from MacMall. Plus you have all those others that you can get too, so it's a great total solution kind of thing. And like you mentioned, it's from talking to people and finding out what their needs are that you get a total solution.
Now, obviously, the Macintosh, the Apple, has been a hallmark within the creative areas of design, of television, of animation, of audio, with products like Pro Tools that people have used in studios and doing the whole revolution of digital music. These are core industries here in Chicago, and so as you guys first started to get involved and started to interact with the community, were those creative communities one of the first communities that sought you out? And what has been your success in the creative areas, communicating with that community, finding out about their needs, also having some of the peripherals that meet their needs? Has that been a strong participant coming in and taking advantage of the services you offer?
Definitely, definitely. The production companies nearby, advertising agencies, multimedia companies, there's a lot of companies nearby and also throughout Chicago that are looking for other options. And like you said, the Apple platform has kind of always been there, but most companies are either a mix or heavily leaning towards one platform over the other. Either it's an all Apple environment with a little bit of Windows stuff, or it's an all Windows environment with a little bit of Apple stuff, or it's an even mix. Those things are changing radically over the last few years especially. Apple's made a lot of inroads into business and into companies that before had never really embraced the Apple platform. The iPad was a big change for that. That helped having that tablet, that freedom to move around. And companies are embracing that technology more often. Having a store like MacMall that shows you all those sides, that can help you on both sides, that can help you with your Windows products, that can help you with the Apple products, to help you guide you through the purchasing plans and everything else that's involved in that. You need a company that is able to address both sides of that.
Now, getting down to how people get stuff done, one of the things that's been a breakthrough is people just absolutely love sitting down with somebody one-on-one, sitting down and saying, look, I have this project. I'm working on this assignment. I'm up against this deadline. Can you help me figure out how to use this particular application or how to put this whole kind of thing together? That's been something that has really won Apple a tremendous amount of accolades, because nobody prior to them was really doing it at that level of one-on-one customization, really sitting down and saying, what you're doing with your computer on your project is important to me, and I want to help you do that. Have you guys incorporated that same one-on-one? And talk a little bit about, if you are doing that, how does that work in your environment?
Oh, absolutely. Education is a very important part. It's also something that I feel very strongly about. I worked at Apple in Michigan Avenue store running their educational programs for a few years. I ran the programs that they have in the theater, and they used to have a private classroom upstairs. So I ran all those programs for a few years, and that was a big thing, was developing that educational aspect of what Apple offers. Like you said, people have individual projects, or they really just don't know how these technologies work. If you're basic, if you're beginning and you just have no clue what to do, it can be a little overwhelming. If you are a professional who's been doing this for a long time and you have a project that you need help with, you need that help. So that's something that was important to me to really develop at this MacMall store, and that's something we developed right from the beginning. We do have free seminars ranging from basics like new to Mac that we do every Saturday at 1 o'clock. That's a free seminar anybody can come to, even if you don't own a Mac and you kind of want to get a feel for it. We try to be very hands-on and give people a chance to sit down at the computer and play with it and see what the deal is, get a feel for it and understand it's not quite as scary as you think it might be. We also have classes in the iPad and in programs like iWork, which is Apple's Pages, Keynote, and Numbers, their Office suite. And then beyond that, we have our MacMall personal training. That one is a plan similar to Apple's one-to-one, where if you buy a new computer, you get one-to-one training for a year. For an additional cost, it's $99 for a year of personal training. That way you can make an appointment.
And that's where a person, I believe, is like 1 hour per week, per year. So if you used it for 52 times, you could see that that's immediately a pretty good deal.
Absolutely.
If you use it. Now, most people don't necessarily use it that much. Some people try to use it more than that. But you have something similar where, again, a person can not connect it with the Mac they already own or whatever, they can come in and sign up for that kind of support, and then you sit down with them on their particular projects, their particular software for one session, which may be an hour session, and they could have one session per week, and then they could do that throughout an entire year, and that will allow them to feel like they have some backup to work on the particular projects and assignments they're trying to handle.
Absolutely. That was something that we did a little differently. With Apple's program, which is called One-to-One, it's dedicated to that one computer when you first buy that, and then you have 1 year. And that's really the only option that they had. So one thing I wanted to do was expand that a little bit. If you bought your Apple computer a year ago, if you bought it from someplace else, we're not going to exclude you from that. You can still come in and buy the year training by itself. If you wanted to just do, if you need 1 hour's worth of help, we can do that for you too. There's a lot of flexibility with that. We also offer the ability to renew that. So if after a year you feel like this is a great idea and you really enjoy this, but you will benefit from more of it, we'll let you extend it.
Now how is this catching on in the marketplace? What do professionals and people think about this?
It's been very popular so far. It's been very popular with beginners, with people who are brand new to the platform, people who are switching from Windows and are a little nervous about it. They're catching on to this pretty quickly, that this is a great opportunity for them. A lot of people learn different ways. Some people learn in a group environment. Those free seminars can be good. You come down 4, 5, 6 people sitting together and you learn from the questions that others ask. Others really need someone to sit with them and just focus on what their problems are, what their issues are. I really need to learn how to use email on this. I really need to learn how to organize my photos. Whatever those individual problems are, those are things that we can address because it's a one-on-one personal training session. So if you came to me and said, I've got some problems, I really want to use iMovie to edit this program to look really cool, whatever, can you show me how I can add certain effects to these things? That's something we could cover. We could sit down with you for that 1 hour and focus on just that one project, on just that one issue.
Right.
So the flexibility of it is great. The other part of that we've done with it is included as a business option. There are many people with small businesses, medium-sized businesses, and large businesses that are embracing this Apple platform and finding now they have to train all their employees.
Yes.
And most people don't have IT departments big enough to have staff
Yes.
just there to teach the rest of the employees. That's where this personal training program comes in, and comes in big.
So a company, instead of just like a small business could buy one of these subscriptions, and then different people, different projects could come in and say, hey, this is the same company. Now we're working on a project where we're trying to do this. We're working on another project, we're trying to do that. And they always have somebody they could turn to. So you're basically an off-site help desk or an off-site training department where people can come in, bring their particular computer, their particular project, and sit down and work with the consultant one-on-one. So having that kind of broad capacity, how do you get your people up to speed in order to be able to handle that kind of consulting? What kind of training do they go to? What kind of capacity building are you dealing in to give them the ability to work across this kind of broad range of services?
That's a very good question. Apple actually provides training for companies like ours that do this. So all of our personnel have to be Apple certified product professionals. Actually, that's what this pin means, is that you're an Apple product professional. You've gone through the official Apple training, saying that you understand all of the Apple products and you can address them with a customer's needs. You've been recognized by Apple that you understand all of these things. Each one of our employees has gone through this training process and is certified by Apple. And we have a number of employees, such as myself, who have worked for Apple in one capacity or another over the last few years here in the Chicago area. So we know the area, we know the Apple products, and we'll be able to help.
Okay. Now, when you get into some of these special areas like Pro Tools or like Aperture or like Final Cut Pro, I mean, when you start talking about real production in these areas, this can be very sophisticated. And obviously, again, Chicago is blessed to have institutions like Columbia College, like Flashpoint, others that are really focused on this kind of discipline. Do you kind of focus more on the basic core business tools as opposed to maybe the specialized tools, and really help people get with the basics that they need to do to be individually productive and productive in their businesses?
Yeah, what we try to do is give people the core What happens a lot of times is a customer comes to us and says, I've got a small business, there's really only 5 or 6 of us, but we're now switching over to Apple. And I have an iMac for the store and I've got 5 iPads, for example. But we don't know how to use these things. So we do the personal training plan, set them up with that so the employees can come in here, they then learn how to use the iMac, they learn how to use the iPad. If there are particular programs that they're using with that, then we help them with that as well. We have customers who come in with a project that they're working on, like you mentioned, to say it's a video project. At least 2 of us have pretty good backgrounds in video production. I actually have a degree in television production and worked in video production for years, as well as another one of our employees did as well. So we have quite a bit of background in artistic areas that we can help with things like Final Cut. And if you're looking for anything else like that, we have ways that we can help you out with those. The flexibility is really what helps the most, being able to come in and say, my situation's a little bit different. What I'm looking for, whatever your situation is, we built this program to be flexible because every business is different. People are out there I'm starting a new company that no one's ever heard of this kind of thing before, so I'm doing things differently than other companies do. That's not going to be a problem because we're going to give you that foundation in how the Apple products work so that you can then use that to build that business without being slowed down by what's supposed to be helping you. The iPad, for example, can be a huge help to a business to grow your company, to give it that certain feel, whether it's facing the customers. They see the iPad, they see a new type of technology that people think is really cool. So if this company uses iPads, hey, this must be a cool company. But that's no good if your employees don't know how to use those things.
Exactly right. And of course, here in Chicago, we have many Fortune 500 companies and larger scale companies that are also converting. I saw the story the other day where one of the larger mid-sized accounting firms was talking about allowing, they had some 1,500 auditors that are out in the field doing tax and accounting work, and they were going to outfit all of them with iPads to be a part of their mobile practice as they go off and visit with clients and do their audit and tax work. So it's not unusual to find that kind of integration. Clearly, we've heard about companies like Hyatt Corporation and United Airlines also doing the same. A friend of mine is a United Airlines pilot, and he called me and said, "Hey, guess what, Bruce? We're gonna have iPads, and we're gonna have these instead of lugging these big cases of books around. Now we're gonna have these documentations on this." So we see more of that kind of success. Are you? What is your sense of the Chicago Mac community in terms of when you think about professional development? You think about that there are people out there that code, that build applications, that are working in the various disciplines of app development. You have people that are integrators that are helping configure systems and networks and infrastructure and those kinds of areas. Is there, what I think sometimes people feel, well, Mac is not a part of that activity, but in other words, it really is. There are people out there that know about large deployments and sophisticated, maybe where a company has a standard and they want all the drives to have a certain amount of software on them, and they want those drives to be burned with that. With that, I forget what the term is, where they want to, every company drive looks the same, has the same content, is prepared. So when it comes in the door, people can immediately be productive. It's not just an out-of-the-box system. It has the apps and the solutions that particular company is looking for. Are you seeing that there is that kind of infrastructure, not only within your organization, but with collaborators and partners and people you're working with that can make sure that as far as somebody wants to go, in this platform, not just in the areas that we know about, like film and television and music and those creative areas, but also in some emerging areas like with mobility and like in healthcare and in some of these disciplines? Are you seeing that formation of the quality infrastructure that's available through you and through partners and collaborators that is allowing Apple to be more of a success in the business landscape?
Definitely. Apple has been, over the last few years, has been making great inroads into business. And one of the reasons for that is because of that flexibility that a lot of people there's still a lot of assumptions out there about Apple. There's a lot of things that are left over from years ago or myths that have been around for a long time about compatibility. One of my favorites has always been when people come to me and say, well, I would like to get an Apple, but we need to use Microsoft Office, and you can't get that on a Mac. That's been around for years, and I
I
never
can't believe
understood
people
why.
still are saying that, though. I mean, not so much today, because I think one of the great things about Microsoft recently is when they've gone to this Office 365 cloud solution, they allow you to have up to 5 devices, and those devices could be a mix of devices, you know, Mac, PC, whatever.
What's truly funny about it is that software, Microsoft Office, was invented for Mac.
That's true.
It was one of the earliest programs that Microsoft developed, and they did it for Apple. And it wasn't even available on the Windows platform for a few years after that. So Microsoft Office was created for the Mac, but somewhere along the line, people got it into their heads that you couldn't get it, even though it's been there since the beginning. And there are things like that. There were times back in the 80s and early 90s when the two companies decided to kind of close each other off and go head to head and fight and try not to be compatible. And that was a kind of a dark time in all computing anyway, where everyone was not looking for compatibility, they were looking for close everything off and I'm better than you, and clearly that didn't work. Where things have shifted to now is towards compatibility. The Apple computer is the only computer you can buy that will run both Apple's operating system and Windows. You can run them both simultaneously. You can use a program like Parallels or VMware Fusion and have a window on your Mac that is showing a Windows computer. So you can have both of those. There are many companies that have really no need for Windows. They would love to switch to Mac, but there's that one program that they have to use that's Windows. So they say, well, I guess we will have to get a Windows computer. There's really not a need for that anymore. It hasn't been for years now that you can run Windows on a Mac. Many companies are doing that now, buying a Mac, getting Parallels or VMware Fusion, something like that, or even just using Boot Camp, which is part of Apple's built-in operating system, where you can restart the computer into Windows. However you need to do it, you have that flexibility. Having that means you then need to just have a little bit more education as to how that works. You need to have them set up for you. You need to know what you can do back and forth, how you can transfer files from the Windows side to the Mac side, or vice versa. Then there's compatibility issues with programs to a degree that it's pretty small. A lot of times you'll find out people will say, well, I've tried somebody's Word document, but it didn't open. That can happen from Word 2011 and Word 2004. It's just on the same platform, Windows or Mac, because it's a newer version. You're always going to have issues, things like that. Where you don't have issues anymore is having to run a program that is Windows only, but you want to get a Mac. That's not an issue anymore, because you can run them both.
Now, how are you cultivating your outreach and relationships with the community? It's one thing to come into the market, and you mentioned back when the Apple Store was first opening, a big way that they made a difference was by having that theater, by having seminars and workshops and activities. So many people were able to come in and experience and find out what this environment was all about. And I think that Apple has proven that retail activity has been a great teaching tool. It's done something that never could have been done with any amount of advertising. It only could have been done because user experiences were able to say that I came in, I talked to some folks, the guy sat me down and showed me something. I was in a workshop, I was in a seminar, I saw what people were doing, and I said, hey, this is no mystery, this is not voodoo, that I can come in here and figure out how this stuff works and get involved with it. So yeah, you had people that were always these Mac zealots, but then you had people who just say, well, I want to see what the big deal is. I'm just going to walk in the store and see what's going on because of one of these seminars and workshops. So now you guys are out here kind of saying, hey, this community is even broader. It's not just about a Mac store. So other people are doing those same kinds of things. How have you reached out to become a part of the community in this regard?
We've had a number of events. We host events at the store. We have groups come in who are individual groups for whether they're user groups, whether they're social groups, things like that. We try to host events here at the store to let people to come in. We have the free seminars that we offer on a regular basis. We have guest speakers come in and show. We've had a number of guest speakers doing things like Adobe InDesign, things like that, and they bring in professionals, and they use the equipment that we have exclusives for. And it's a great learning place, and it's a great place to come in and really feel that you're getting the attention you need.
All right. Well, Craig Burns, I want to thank you for sitting in with us today. I want to thank you. Those Mac people out there, you may be a latent Mac person and not even realize it, but it's really not about this or that anymore. It's really about getting the work done that you want to get done, whether you're a school, a nonprofit organization, whether you're in a Fortune 500, or whether you're working on that novel that the next great American novel and you're just trying to crank it out. Now you have a resource, another resource in the city that's available to you to help you get these platforms. And again, this range of platforms, not just talking about a box anymore, talking about cloud, talking about iPad, talking about all of it. And they're doing all of this at a little place called MacMall in Chicago on Orleans and Grant. If you have any questions at all and want to get in touch with Craig, want to get in touch with us, we're going to be doing some activities there ourselves, and we hope that you can join us in some of these activities. Contact us at TechAccessTV. We'll be happy to bring you into this great universe of service and support. My name is Bruce Montgomery, and thank you for watching this edition of Tech Access TV.